Hi, I'm Kim. I am human. And in this video I'll be exploring what it takes to make an entirely hand illustrated and animated loop for a lo-fi hip-hop video backdrop. A tedious, very time-consuming and very challenging task that nowadays most people will probably gladly skip completely. So I am curious, if we choose to automate the process and mass generate these clips, what are we actually missing out on? How much work and time would it actually take to make one of these using only our hands and hearts as a tool? And in a fast-paced world like the one we live in, is it even worth the effort anymore? I was formally trained at one of the most renowned 2D animation schools called CalArts. It was founded by Walt Disney himself, and the school focuses on teaching generations of young animators the difficult and time-consuming, but also magical craft of animating by hand and breathing life into our drawings. And I spent years of my youth glued to a Cintiq drawing millions of little tiny frames. So I understand why people are tempted to just AI generate the whole thing. Learning animation is a long and heartbreaking process, and commissioning it is expensive. But I believe this video shows why taking the long and painful and human route is a beautiful and radical thing to do. So thanks for being here and going on this little journey with me today. It really is the perfect day to do this drawing. I wanted to do this project last week, but it was really sunny and I saw that the weather was going to be shifting. It's going to be rainy and gloomy and foggy for like 5 days straight. So I kind of timed it to do this project then, just to make sure I'm in the right mood to do an October-y, foggy, moody little lo-fi picture. The first sketch I did, it's quite intuitive. It kind of started with the boy, then it kind of wrapped the fox around, then it kind of wrapped the tree around it, then it kind of wrapped the forest around it. It just kind of very much flowed out from the middle and expanded, which I like that. It's a very intuitive way to create. This is a little bit personal, but the first few days of working on this, we heard some very sad and terrifying news about a beloved family member. And I think those feelings I felt that day translated directly into the art I made at that time. The boy sitting in the willow tree here looks somber and melancholic to me for that reason, I think. Those were my real human feelings at the time. Thankfully, said family member is now stable, but that grief will always be encapsulated in this drawing I did, and to me that is incredibly beautiful. I'd say I'm done or close to being done with the line work of my little illustration. This is probably going to be one where I need to come back once or twice, just adjusting the line width and adjusting the amount of details everywhere. I feel like there's some places that are still too busy, other places that are not busy enough. That's something I need to be intentional about. So I'm gonna let this sit for a while, work on something different, and then come back with a fresh eye before I decide where to really place the final touches to make sure that the focal point reads. I want it to be kind of cramped and cozy, but not cluttered or distracting or uncomfortable to look at, obviously. I feel like now is a good time to actually move on to some color thumbnails for this one. There are two moods and settings that I would like to explore on this one. I'm either drawn to the idea of having this be a golden, sunlit, beautiful fall forest and just that really crisp, sunny fall feeling that I love. Or we could have a little bit of contrast here, meaning that outside it is foggy and gloomy and rainy and windy and uncomfortable and desaturated, and inside that little cave it's warm and comforting. So playing a little bit with that contrast here. I feel like I'm drawn to that option just because it feels more cozy, but I also can't really visualize that. I feel like a lot of the fall themed lo-fi hip-hop images that I see on YouTube, online, and everywhere, they're all kind of leaning into the completely warm color scheme. So that is just because I've seen that so much, that's more easy to visualize for me, but I'm gonna still give the other option a fair chance. I feel like I personally am more drawn to that, probably also because right now here in real life. It is warm and cozy inside. It is gloomy and gray outside. So yeah, I'll give both of them a try. First, we need to get started with some new references though. This is truly my favorite part of year. During my time living in LA, a part of me was always craving seasons and weather, especially during September and October. I think because I grew up in gloomy Germany, my body needs and misses all the autumn sensory experiences. The scent of crunchy leaves and the foggy nights and mornings and the storms or the icy cold sunlit days and all the foxes and squirrels scavenging for food outside. So now that I'm back, I've been cherishing every day, and it feels so good to pour all those moments and moods in whatever art I get to create these days. I did my second color thumbnail and I like that one too. Life happened and I had to step away from this project for a week, but now that I'm back, I have a very clear, fresh point of view, and I think I can confidently say that I feel more drawn to the gloomy version than the golden fall version, so I'm gonna keep going with that one. Looking at this a second time, I feel like the line work still needs a little bit of work, so I'm gonna keep doing that as well, working on the line work, working on the line weight and the amounts of details everywhere, and once that is done I can start filling in and coloring in the actual final piece. 그대 잠깐 눈을 붙일 때 나는 마음에 물을 붙여요. This part was fun for me. Sometimes I tend to lose the looseness and playfulness from the sketch and thumbnail when I move on to the final painting. But this time I was able to still explore and have fun, even though I felt the pressure that I was now working on the final piece. And I ended up with something that had exactly the mood that I was hoping to capture. I think my illustration is done and it feels warm, it feels cozy. I think I'm happy with it. And I also still feel like it has a little bit of my own touch. So I think this could work as a lo-fi hip-hop beat drawing. I hope it will. But I also feel like I didn't abandon my whole style and my whole character. I poured a lot of my own soul and character and experience back here in rainy Bavaria into this image. Also putting European wildlife in this image with the fox, of course. And just overall very, very happy with how this turned out. Which means we can now move on to the scary part, which is animating. I'm not going to animate the whole image a lot of the times. There's a few objects swaying and moving and being alive in a lo-fi hip-hop beat animation, and I think that is enough. I think it's important to find the balance here between putting just enough in there to make it feel alive and cozy and not static, but also not to overwork myself, because it's very easy to lose yourself in animation, and animation is time consuming and hard. Especially I'm not doing vector-based animation. I'm not pushing stuff around in After Effects. I'm gonna do all hand-drawn animation, all done on TV Paint, frame by frame, meaning, yeah, it takes a lot of time, and I need to be conscientious of that and be resourceful with my energy and my time if I actually want to get this done. So my plan is to point out a couple of these things that I would like to animate in this image. I don't know how much work this actually needs, so I'm going to start with the most important things that need to be moving, which is the fire and the rain. Obviously, if the rain doesn't move, the fire doesn't move, it doesn't look right. I also would really, really like to animate the fox breathing slowly and have firelight flickering inside of that cave. If that is possible, that would be really beautiful. I don't know if it's possible though. I need to try that out. Yeah, if I can get to that, that would be great. And then I'll just see how it looks, if I need to add more, if it's too much. I'm just feeling a way through this now. So yeah, I'm gonna plan the animation and then I think I'm gonna prep my TV Paint file. Good morning! Today is the day where I started animating. I already added a couple of raindrops. Now I'm adding the tiny little droplets bursting on the ground here and there. I am referencing this animation my classmate Lorenzo Fresta made. If you don't know his work, it is the most beautiful, heartfelt, Ghibli-esque animations. He told me he works a month on them. He puts a lot of effort into these animations, but they're so beautiful. So I'm kind of referencing this famous one of this little guy hiding under a leaf during a rainstorm. And then I'm probably gonna move on with the fire maybe? I'm really bad at effects animation. I always have been. I feel like there's some people who are really good at it and I've never been able to do that well. So I might just have to reference a video of a fireplace frame by frame, maybe even draw over it. The flames do such random movement and it's impossible for me to dissect. It's a really sunny day today and I live in Munich and it is October, so I'm heading to the Oktoberfest quite early today. So I don't have a lot of time to animate today, but we'll see how far we'll get. It's a very wholesome thing to work on. I'm having a lot of fun. These last few days I dedicated to rough and cleanup animation, to coloring the frames and adding shading and effects and flickering firelight to bring it all together. I didn't talk much or have much to share during this part of production because I was just so concentrated and so locked in. Animation from the outside probably looks like the most boring and tedious way you could spend your time, but if you actually get into it, you'll find that the process is kind of addicting. To me, there is no flow state like the animation flow state. Animation probably took me well over 20 hours on this little project, but I barely even noticed the time was passing because I was so hypnotized. And I find that even the less creative parts of animating, like cleaning up lines and coloring, for example, I would not want to skip that part. To me, there's something so beautiful and special to give yourself to entire task completely and work hard on every part of the process, even the less glamorous and inspiring ones. And I really believe that there is something to learn in every single step of the way and every single frame. So yes, this took forever, and yes, I'm also aware that most people probably can't tell that this took forever. But it's rare and empowering if you can actually sit down in this very fast-paced, very chaotic, very scary world and honor your craft in this way, I think. Giving it endless effort and endless time is so radical. I mean, it sets you apart from everyone else who chooses to skip the magic to reap the instant reward at the end. And by doing that, I believe that doesn't just make you a happier, better artist, I think it makes you a happier, better human. And it has the wonderful side effect that if you choose to share your piece online, which you don't have to do, but if you feel called to do that, you put something small out into the world that is raw and human and felt and honest. Something that made you grow, something that made you process what you're going through and feel your feelings, and something that potentially makes people feel less isolated and alone. It is the exact antidote that the world needs right now. Look at the incredible amount of love and appreciation Yellow Cherry Jam's No AI Lofa videos have been receiving. That has been one of the main, actually the main inspiration for me making this video, by the way. People need humanness, people crave humanity and imperfect, unartificial art. I think most people want to be a consumer of quality and not quantity. These very real and very human emotions and needs are in all of us. And while my piece obviously is not perfect, and while it definitely took crazy long, I do feel confident that it has value. I see my years of practice in it, my love for fall and my grief for my grandpa. So I encourage you to never give up on making your own imperfect, inefficient art. Thank you so much for watching. I hope I see you in the next one. Bye bye.